Senator Niall, you have 8 minutes. Go ahead.
Alas Carly agus Ira tá fáilte ród Tá mé buíoch go bhfuil an seáil agam Lords ar an ábhar seo agus tá sé gcónaí tábhachta mar atá sé ráite é caintúir eile ar muothas a ggóil lena fear agus na mrás na fórsaí slándala. Minister, I always welcome the opportunity on the floor of this House to not just welcome you, but to commend the commitment and dedication of the men and women of the Defence Forces, not least those who have undertaken such impressive, and I would even say, go so far as to say awe-inspiring search and rescue missions in the Mediterranean. I want to make a number of points, Minister, and then I have a couple of brief questions, and I'll get through them as succinctly as I can because most of them will have been raised by colleagues previous to me. Minister, as you'll know, since 2009 the salaries and allowances of Defence Forces have been cut significantly. Many Defence Force personnel are now relying on family income supplement as the pay is so low. There is a serious problem with recruitment and retention in the Defence Forces, particularly at officer level, and you alluded to this in your own contribution. And many are now taking up better paid jobs in the private sector. So effectively we have a brain drain from the Defence Forces. And I think Senator Dolan raises the fair point. What are we doing not only to react to this obvious problem and obvious brain drain, but what are we doing to invest to ensure that there isn't a repetition of it in the future with those who we do recruit into the Defence Forces? The fact that the Public Service Pay Commission has prioritised the examination of recruitment and retention issues in the Defence Forces demonstrates the seriousness of the problem. Minister, you need to outline when the Department's submission to the Public Services Pay Commission will be completed. And you also need to outline, if you have engaged with PD Fora, the representatives of the ordinary rank and file members in preparing the submission so that the views of ordinary members of the Defence Forces are represented in this regard. The European Commission of Social Rights has recently recommended that members of the Defence Forces should have the right to collective bargaining. Sinn Féin supports this right and has introduced legislation in the Dáil to give effect to it. We are calling on you, Minister, to immediately introduce an effective mechanism to give effect to the decision of the European Committee of Social Rights. We also commend PD Fora for taking this action, and it is a disgrace that members of the Defence Forces were forced to go to Europe to have this basic right indicated in the first place. On the issue of European militarisation and neutrality, Minister, I would appreciate if you could clarify here, do you support the position adopted by the 4 Fine Gael MEPs in relation to our neutrality, and if this is now considered government policy? Fine Gael MEPs have recently voted in the European Parliament in favour of a report calling for each member state to spend 2% of their current GDP on defence. Currently, Ireland spends 0.3% of our GDP on defence. Minister, if you could clarify if you support this position and if you intend to raise defence spending in line with other member states. And while Sinn Féin supports increased investment in our Defence Forces, in particular to address such issues as pay, we have huge concerns with proposed increases to align us with the European militarisation agenda, particularly given the demands in terms of housing and health within society. And Mar Uncle Skur, in conclusion, Minister, I would ask in terms of, due to all of the issues that have been outlined by myself and other members moving forward, and I had raised it with, I think, your predecessor in this House, the issue of recruitment and planning for recruitment drives and how you carry out those recruitment drives across the country. We'll be heading into a time where universities, for example, will be holding their fresher fairs. There will be any number of events throughout the summer. I just wonder what obstacles, if there are indeed any obstacles, are placed on you, Minister, to instruct the Defence Forces to recruit truly nicely, to attend universities in the 6 counties and other such events where appropriate, whereby young people from the north who may wish to avail of a career in the Defence Forces are given the easiest and most comfortable avenue to do that. So if you could reflect on that, perhaps it's a bit of an unfair question to throw at your feet today, Minister, but perhaps maybe in the future you'll reflect on that and come back with a response.
Thanks very much, Senator Niall.